Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie George with CIBN Connect, and I want to talk to you today about a serious subject, something that has been happening in our community and in our world for the last year. And I'm going to challenge you today on some of the things that we kind of held dear and thought this is the way that it is. And I think that there are some reasons for us to question the way things are. And so I'm just gonna share a few things with you. Over the last year, of course, we've watched many small businesses close. I think when March 2020 happened, it was a rude awakening to the world. Things were going to be different. And I know it certainly was for us. On March 13th, we went from all live meetings, over 500 live meetings a year, to doing online meetings in our network. And one of the first things that happened in March of 2020 is we, for the first time, lost businesses to business failure in our network, in our organization. And a couple of those businesses were taken out immediately because of the new rules about who could stay open and who couldn't stay open. And some of those businesses were taken out too because of just the way things were now going to be done. And I know one business that was near and dear to our hearts was a restaurant that had been in business in our community for 30 plus years, China Rose Restaurant. We had many meetings in that facility over the years, and I know many other networking organizations and business groups had met there for years. And it was just shocking to us that they were so impacted already by mid-March that they closed their doors. I think it was March 19th, and never to reopen again. And I know that really struck a chord in our heart and in the heart of many people in our network. There were other ones like lockdown escape rooms that had to close their facilities in our city. And there were other ones that, were suddenly limited in how long they could keep their doors open. And it seemed all of a sudden to be an impossible struggle for small businesses. And at the same time, we were watching big box stores. All of a sudden, they're the only ones that can be open. And as I watched this, I thought about, the injustice of this, the unfairness of it, that a small store, for instance, that sold furniture is now not allowed to be open when there's a lockdown, but a big box store that sold other things along with furniture could now sell all of that and keep their doors open. And it seemed that they were the only ones that were cleaning up. And as I was, watching that unfold over the last year, it brought me to question the way that we've always done things. And today I want to challenge you on the way that we are doing some of these things. I think that we've seen a lot of things happen this last year, long lineups when we going out to shop. These stores are often at full capacity, and there seems to be this double standard. A small business can't even have 10% or 15% capacity, or they got to have curbside pickup. But a business, like one of the big box stores, is able to have long lineups coming in. The store is at full capacity. The cash registers are just ringing and ringing and ringing all day long, and they seem to be just cleaning up. I was recently shown a couple of stats that really, really struck my heart, and I want to share a couple of them with you. This one was it's about how small businesses were and workers were affected. I guess I need to share my screen here so you can see what I'm seeing. So let me just do this here so you can see it. This is really something here. So this here is an article by Insider. It says that workers lost $3.7 trillion in earnings during the pandemic. And the women and Generation Z saw the biggest losses. And of course, small business being in amongst that, this to me was like an attack on the middle class. It's incredible, really, when you think about This is like a huge wealth transfer that just took place. And what do I mean by wealth transfer? Well, at the same time that this happened, this article came out, I think a day or two later, and it says billionaires made 3.9 trillion during the pandemic. So basically, where did that money go? It went right into the hands of people like Jeff Bezos and the Walton family and other organizations and groups like this. And the common man, really, we've been resorting to getting government help. So really living off of the government, really, and trying to figure out where our next dollar is coming from. So, of course, this is alarming to the population. It's alarming to me, and I hope it's alarming to you. There were some things that just recently I became aware of that I never knew before. Like I was thinking that it's the big box stores cleaning up and that's the end of it, right? These are the big guys, right? But that isn't the end of it. Actually, it has a lot more to do with the products that are on the shelves there. So I did not know that there are actually 11 big companies in the world that own a lot of other companies. And we think when we're going to the grocery store that we have choices, that we get to buy brand X because we want to buy that brand because it's healthier for our family, it has less sugar, it's better for our overall health. And what we don't know as a consumer is that when that company brand started out, it may have stood for those values, but the reality is, in order to get onto the store shelf, and this sickens me, this makes me, bah. In order to get onto the store shelf, they had to sell out. And what has happened is that product that is on the shelf has been reformulated. And when you fell in love with it, it's not the product that you thought it was anymore. And a good example of this is Burt's Bees. And I know myself, I have used this product for years. I thought this was a great product. It's made from beeswax. It's good for us. It's good for families. And, just recently discovered that Burt's Bees is now owned by Clorox. And that's why you can get it on the store shelf. This is so astounding to me. I've asked Cheyenne Kramer to be here with us today and Daniel Wright to talk about some alternatives. And as you can see, I'm messed up by this. And I hope you're messed up by this. This is ugly. And I think that we need to do something about this. So I want to talk with Cheyenne. And I'm going to add her and Daniel to the stream here. And Cheyenne, you've been studying this for 25 years. I want you to tell us, what have you discovered? I'm horrified. You can see. I thought about it all over the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. And I have no idea of what we have been buying into here. And as you can see, I'm very passionate about this.
That's why we love you, Carrie.
I'm the surface here of what I've learned just in the last 48 hours, which I'm sure you have a lifetime experience with. Tell us more about what you have discovered over the last 25 years.
Oh my. Well, and so much of what you're talking about just absolutely resonates with me because, I've been a believer for a long time that small business is the backbone. And I don't care whether we're talking about the US or Canada or somewhere else. And yet there's so many things that happen behind the scenes that we never really see. We never really are fully aware of in terms of what happens with some of these, I almost call them transitions of power. And they affect so many different things in our lives, but we haven't been paying attention. And, it's so easy to just keep doing the same thing we do over and over again without recognizing some of these things that are happening behind the scenes. And, I sit and I think, I call myself a social entrepreneur. I'm very much into happy capitalism, just like you are. But I also believe that there's room for, in a free market society, there's room for businesses to do good. And, there are businesses that I know of that I've been involved with over the last 25 years who started out doing amazing things until they got bought by a bigger company. And then all of a sudden those things go away. And, so along with the reformulation, like you've seen, that's very common. I've visited Burt's Bees company.
Oh, I see she's probably lost her signal there. She'll be back in a second, but I know she has more to share with us. Yeah, she had visited Burt's Bees personally and seen how this was. And I didn't know that they had changed company ownership, and I didn't know that they had changed formulas. But you know what I did notice? I've used Burt's Bees for years, and a few months ago, I remember purchasing something and thinking, this doesn't feel the way it used to feel. Something's up here. Something's different about this product. But you don't really know what it is. So I just bought it. And I continued to buy it until recently when I've switched to this new brand. But I didn't know this. I didn't know it was bought by Clorox. My God. I'm just appalled. I'm appalled.
Yes.
That is disgusting. A poison company. Bought Burt's Bees and reformulated the formulation and didn't tell any of us. And we think that we're going to buy that product and it's the same. And it's made me question so many things and it made me realize something, because I have a vegetarian in my house and we've also had food issues for years. So I've been reading the backs of labels for 25 years. And I have noticed we would read the backs of a label and we'd go, okay, this brand is good. It doesn't have, for instance, the MSG that we were allergic to, or it didn't have this, whatever ingredient that we didn't want to have. And we'd go along buying that brand. And one day, one of my kids would lift it up and go, Mom, this has got this in it. And I go, no, it doesn't. It's never had that before. And then we'd look at it and go, oh my gosh, it does have that in it. How did that happen? And I had no idea. Now since I've discovered this in the last couple of days, I actually went and looked up some of those. And to my horror, they have been purchased by larger companies. And there's your story right there. This is why it now suddenly has that poison in it that it didn't have before. I'm horrified. So you were telling me about an ice cream company that was local to you, Cheyenne.
Yes, absolutely. And, this was an amazing company at one point in time, very well known. And, they did things like when they decided they were going to have a rainforest crunch kind of ice cream, they went to the rainforest and actually got things from the Aboriginal people there, so that they were truly helping in the community to be able to make purchases from the people who would benefit most. One of the other things they used to do was they would partner their company with charities, with nonprofits, and set them up to be able to employ some of the people that were being served by their charities. They would absolutely help them to use their company as a way to raise funds for what they were doing in their charity. And then, of course, they got bought out a number of years ago, and that whole partnering thing went right down the tubes. A lot of organizations that were making money as a result of being partnered with them, it just all kind of disappears. It's happened with so many great small businesses that start out with more of the the social entrepreneur mindset, which is all about people, profit, and planet. And what we are seeing now is that there's just so many that start out that way, but then get bought, and then it just becomes all about the profit, which is exactly what I'm hearing you say, Carrie.
Yeah, I'm just appalled. There was, a vitamin line in Canada that was available for years that people recognized as a better quality vitamin in a drugstore, which in my opinion, there's not a good quality vitamin sold in a drugstore anywhere if you actually do your research. But it was one of the best that there was available. And recently I had saw that brand in dollar store of all places. And I thought, what the heck? How could it be in dollar store? And of course, we see it on the store shelves in our big box stores. And after just the last couple of days, I thought, that's funny, because they suddenly got market space now in these big stores. I wonder if they had a change of ownership. So I went and looked them up, and sure enough, yes, they have. And it's just in the last year or so that they had this change of ownership. And that's why they're now available, because apparently there's 11 huge companies that have a bunch of subsidiary companies underneath of them. Some companies, these companies are like Coca-Cola is one of them. Johnson & Johnson is one of them. And actually, I have a whole chart that has, in fact, you can research it. You just look it up. What are the 11 companies that own the other 11 food and commodities? And you'll see a chart. It's right there, plain as day. And what's really interesting is that there are lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit against these big brands. They know, for instance, Johnson & Johnson, the talc issue, okay? They've been letting there be asbestos in the talc for many, many years, and they've known that this causes cancer, and they keep doing it because the lawsuits cost less than the profit they're making. And this is being put on babies' butts, for goodness sake. Like, what the heck? I love capitalism. I love happy capitalism. But capitalism has to have a heart. My God, what is that? And what government, and I mean, we got all this stuff going on that's supposed to protect us, the FDA in the US, the Canadian health legislations in Canada. And what the heck, I have to say, you would let that come in, and the things that you stop that help people, I'm blown away. I'm floored. I just don't know what to say. This is disgusting. So, wow. And you've been studying this for 20 some years now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, there's so many ways that people don't understand that one of the greatest power we the people have, is to start researching some of this and figure out where can we take our dollars so that we're not feeding into this mess that continues, that doesn't care as much about our health, doesn't care as much about our well-being, most of the time do not care very much about their employees. They're just a number on a balance sheet. And, all of these kinds of things that are so prevalent in the really, really big companies. We have the ability to change it, but we've got to start looking for somewhere else to put our dollars.
Yes, absolutely. And I want to talk about that, and I've asked Daniel to be here to talk with us about that. Now, just before we get to that, I just want to bring one more point up, because I'm not sure that our viewers really get this. I just discovered this, and I never knew this, that these big box stores, actually the store shelf space has been pre-purchased or leased by these huge companies. So this is why a small company like Burt's Bees, when it gets started, can't get placement in a large grocery store, okay? And in order to get placement, they often end up taking a buyout, because they're figuring they're going to get their great product to the world, and they've been paid for their effort as an entrepreneur, and they're going to step back, and a big company is going to take that thing and go forward with it. They have no idea about what's about to happen. They also don't know that many of the companies that make the purchase is not the father, it's not the mothership. It's like a front company that makes purchases, and may even appear to be, like in that case of the Canadian company that was the vitamin company that was purchased, it was purchased by a Canadian company, and there was a big article from the CEO talking about how he's so happy this is going to stay in Canada and blah, 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 blah. And then I looked up who owns that company. Guess who owns it? Clearly, he did not do his research. So I was just like, and I think this is just going on all the time. It's crazy, but we need stuff, right? And that's true. We have become a consumer society where we need to wash our hair, wash our clothes, brush our teeth, eat, granola. We have a lifestyle and a habit that we become accustomed to, and we want to maintain. And this stuff seems like it's boring and it doesn't really matter, and we just turn left in the grocery aisle and fill up our cart. But we don't realize what we're supporting and what is going on behind the scenes as we do this. So what are our choices? What alternatives do we have? Daniel, you're here today. Tell us about this alternative that we could have, a go-to where we could get a lot of this kind of stuff that we need from Stuff Mart, so that we can actually, look after these needs that we have in our families, for ourselves, our children, and, the members of our family. Where could we go?
That's a good question, Carrie. Where can we go? And I think, if we ask the question, what if there was a manufacturer that was, truly green, and that's never going to sell out? What if there was a manufacturer that had an online presence that we could go to rather than go over there, which is where you've been talking about, you and Cheyenne, to places that have sold out? Because, we have, as consumers, we have a choice. We have a choice to make. Who are we spending our money with, as we've been talking about, and who can we trust? So if we could discover a manufacturer that was truly green, that's been around forever, and based on their history, we knew that we could trust what they produce, the stuff that we're running out of every single day, every single week, things that you spoke about, whether it's coffee or whether it's glass cleaner or whether it's the stuff that lives under the sink in our kitchens, where Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble are poisoning children that are unaware when they, with glee, take out a bottle and decide to maybe taste it. There are thousands of calls to poison control centers every single day in North America. And it's sad because either the child dies or it's maimed for life. And it's all unnecessary. What if there was a manufacturer that didn't even have childproof tops on? Because if the child does see something colorful and bright and looks attractive and decides to take a little taste, it might cry because it might not taste the best, but it's not going to do it any harm. Would that be something that was of interest to us? Well, I think for everybody, from what we've been talking about, we want a better choice. We want to be able to trust where we're purchasing our stuff from. And, when we think about other things that we put into our body, nutrition, you talked about nutrition, Kerry. What if there was a company that combined nature with science so that we knew that when we were putting something into our body, it was actually, and with clinical trials tested and proven that what we were putting into our body was actually going to do us good, was going to bring down those markers that doctors recognize as symptoms, if we don't bring them down, are going to create health issues later on in life. So, those are some of the things that we have choices with. We found a manufacturer that ticks all those boxes. It ticks the boxes of competing with the big guys, the Walton family, Amazon. Actually, my wife and I were down in Whole Foods. I think you have Whole Foods over west. I'm east in Canada. And I think they're down in the States too. It's a nice store, and we were actually going to see it because we were going to get a pizza. But Whole Foods is owned by Amazon.
Yep. So
we're lining the pockets. And I have nothing against Jeff Bezos. He obviously a very smart guy. I don't know enough about him to say whether I've got something against him or not, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But the point being is that, again, where are we buying our stuff from, and can we trust it? So if there was a manufacturer that we could trust, would we choose to go here and spend our money over here rather than give the big guys, the Jeff Bezos, the Walton family, the money? They've got enough anyway, I think. And what if this manufacturer gave back to you and me, the little guys? Because we are little guys. I know we like to think we're maybe a bit bigger than little guys, but we're not. Unless your name's Brad Pitt or is it Angelina Jolie? I forget. I'm not a bigger TV person. But unless we're one of those people, we're not the 1%. We're the 99%. We're the little guys. What if this company was family owned, really cared not only about what it was producing, cared about the employers, looked after them, and cared about the people that were purchasing from it and gave back to the community? You and I. What if a company like that existed?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think that there are alternatives in this world, and we need to look at them seriously and really consider here. I want to thank you guys for being with me. I'm going to just finish up with a few thoughts here. But thank you, Cheyenne and Daniel, for joining me right now. I'm really happy to know both of you, as you both have provided answers. And I know Cheyenne does not just work for herself and her own business. She works for her community. She works for people who are lost. She helps people get off the streets and find employment. And she works with people who have gotten out of jail and are trying to reform their lives. And she pours her heart and soul into that. And I'm just so thrilled that you've joined us on this project, Cheyenne. And I also want to acknowledge Daniel and the help and training that he's given to us and to other team members who now are prepared as workers to help those who may be viewing this make this conscious choice to change their shopping. And I want to congratulate and thank those workers as well, and continue to encourage them to go for it, because this is, I think, a time in history when we need to make a decision to make a change. And I'm glad that both of you and all of them are with us in this. So I'm going to just pause you guys. I want to just cover a few different questions that people have been coming up with as we've been talking about this over the last few weeks. These are some of the concerns, the objections that people have to making a change in shopping. I know one of them is, well, I want the convenience. I'm used to this convenience. I go down to the store, I get what I want. I fill up my cart. I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to have a relationship. I just fill up my cart and I get to leave. And I want to ask you about your convenience right now. How convenient has it been this last year, first of all? Okay, I don't know if there's anything convenient about going to a grocery store at all right now, okay? There are lines on the floor. You have to wear a mask. You are continuously worried about getting too close to somebody or somebody getting angry with you because you disobeyed one of the newest rules that happened just this week while you were absent from the store. So, I mean, it's not convenient to go shopping at these convenient stores anymore at all. And then you can say, well, it's convenient to have it shipped to my house. I just ordered online from Amazon. Well, what if you could make a choice where it would still be shipped to your house in a very similar method and manner, but it would actually support something that's good and support people in your community? One convenience shifted for the other, it shouldn't be a big deal, right? Because they're both convenient. What about the price? This is another objection that I've had people say to me, well, the price is cheaper at these stores. Actually, it's not. On just about everything, it's not. The pricing is actually equal. The alternative that we're going to share with you is very similar pricing. And now I'm talking similar pricing to the big box stores and the drug stores, very similar pricing. Now, if you're trying to compare it to dollar store, okay, no, it's not comparable to dollar store. And if you thought what we were sharing with you about these other possibilities are evil, I want you to think about what's in that dollar store, okay? It's the cheapest stuff you can get your hand on. And when it comes to cleaning supplies and stuff like that, it's the most poisonous because that's the cheapest. So what are you doing going to the dollar store buying stuff for your family anyway? Hello? Like, I don't know where people's heads are. So price, if you're comparing apples to apples, so you're talking about what you're going to go buy in the drugstore and you're going to go buy in the in the box store, then yeah, the prices are actually the same. There's also, the pricing of the cheapest quality materials is going to be the cheapest. So you just got to keep that in mind when you're talking about price. Here's another objection that I heard recently. Someone said to me, well, I want the points. I want the loyalty points. I shop at the same place all the time. And I get loyalty points and I get to buy stuff with the loyalty points. That's great. I understand that. I also am a big loyalty point shopper. In fact, I was probably one of the biggest collectors of loyalty points. And you'll be happy to know that this alternative also has loyalty points, and it has possibilities for you to earn free products. So yes, you can still enjoy that. You don't have to give that up. You just transfer it over to another company. Here's another objection I've heard. Well, I like my favorite brand. I'm really used to my favorite brand. Okay, first of all, I want to challenge that. Do you? Have you looked into who owns that brand? Is that brand the way it was when you first started using it? I'd challenge you on that, because I've had since I actually found this out the last couple of days, I started thinking about a few other products that I have bought for years that I thought had a lot of quality. And then lately I wasn't so impressed with the quality. And guess what? As I started looking them up online, I found they had been purchased by other companies. So if you are really, really faithful to a brand, maybe you need to look up who owns that brand, okay? Because it might not be who you think it is, and it might not have the quality that it used to have when you fell in love with it. Here's another great one. I don't need to switch where I shop, especially for things like household cleaners, because I only use vinegar and water. Vinegar. I want you to go to your cupboard right now and open that up and look at who made that vinegar. Because I looked at 3 brands this morning that were in the cupboards here where I am. They're all from 3 different companies, or so I thought. They are not. They are actually owned by the same large company. So as I buy that vinegar, I'm actually supporting that. And that, I don't know about you, but that sickens me. Okay. Here's another objection. I just went shopping. I don't need to shop anymore. I'll think about this later. I just went shopping. Well, the cupboards are full. Well, what's it full of? Where did this stuff come from? And who is it supporting? I would encourage you to test the brand. I was encouraged, in fact, Daniel encouraged me to test the brand a few months ago, and I bought a package with a lot of stuff in it. And I know I've also heard the objection, no, I wouldn't buy a package because I've got all that stuff, or I don't use this thing or that thing and I don't want a package. Well, I just trusted him and I bought the package. And I have to tell you, there were items in there that I thought I wouldn't use. I'll give you an example. There was bar soap in the package, and I haven't used bar soap in 25 years. And I thought I would never use bar soap. But the bar soap was actually so good that I now use bar soap, and I've changed my opinion about it. It's just amazing, actually, the quality, the level of quality of all the products that were in the box. It was absolutely amazing. And yes, I had recently gone shopping. What I did was, when I got the package, I decided to really try it, really test it out, really see what it was all about. And it was only a matter of a couple of weeks, I really decided then to go around my house and clean up the other stuff that I had been buying for years. I put it in a box and I put it in the garage. And I went with a whole new product line because I wanted an alternative that was healthy for my family. I have a 5-year-old grandson who's always kicking around my house. I have people, in my home and pets that I'm concerned about. And so I tucked those things away. And then after a month, I realized I don't need them anymore. And I threw them out. And I would encourage you to make a choice, a life-changing choice, to do something different with your shopping dollars and to support a different kind of shopping. I want to tell you about the kinds of people that are involved with this right now. Over this last year, we've encountered many entrepreneurs whose business were closed. So some of them now have an alternative income. I have worked with a few people who could not find jobs because the job they were applying for had 1,000 people applying for the job at the same time. So some of these people have become involved. We have farmers. Anyone want to support a farmer? That's where your dollars would be going, to support a farmer. In fact, we could start a revolution of shopping farmers. In fact, that's what I want to start, is a revolution, a shopping revolution, something that is completely different. And I'm getting on board here with Daniel and with Cheyenne and with other people like them to say enough is enough. We're going to shop different. We're going to change the way we do things with our dollars, because our dollars are like votes in the end. They make a difference. Where we put our dollars shows what we support. And if you want to actually start a revolution and change things, you know what? This is a great way of doing it. This is a very peaceful way of doing it, but it needs to be done, because who is pulling our strings isn't who you think is pulling our strings, okay? It's big companies and big money. And we can make a difference if we just choose to purchase differently. So I'm going to encourage you to try something new and test out a store, a different kind of store, and make a difference in the world and make a difference in the lives of single mothers and farmers and small business owners and people who really need your help right now. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to ask you to do it with me.